Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐀𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast, as always, live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, sharp, right here on the University of YouTube, right? And as always, if I'm here, we have a glass, we have some ice, and always NSC. NSC. From you see me, you see the NSC, right? Guys, thank you for joining me again for another week. It is Crypto Week in Crypto Land. It's been a time, right? So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna chop it up. As always, the ice rule. Same way we have our Henny, same way we have our crypto talk, right? So it's all about information, conversation, education, never financial advice. So, cheers, salut. This week, an important week. I think we're going to look back. I mean, we've had so many of these types of weeks where I've said we're going to look back 10 years, 20 years from now, and we're going to see this was a pivotal, defining moment in crypto history. But for real, this one is going to be, it's going to go down in history as one of the moments that truly defined the adoption curve of cryptocurrency, because this week, spurred on by the man himself, the savior of crypto, right? I'm sure that's how he considers himself. President Donald J. Trump. And we're going to look at all the hype that came before it. We're going to look at the headaches that came prior to today. We're going to look at some of the hard truths, and we're going to look at what is to come next, right? Because, I mean, if you're in Trinidad, right, it's ban launch season, and it feels like crypto has been in ban launch season as well. Crypto been pumping, right? Like it's 2026 road march. The politicians, well, they've been moving like foreigners in the carnival ban, looking to have a time, play the mass, but they're getting lost, right? And well, the market, she been as moody as your ex watching you with your new girl in the Fed. So this crypto week has been, what I would say, an emotional roller coaster. I mean, not that any time in crypto is not an emotional roller coaster. I mean, if you've been here for a bit, you have a pretty decent understanding of what it requires of you, the level of mental fortitude. And that's why I respect all the people who've been here from day one, day two, 2010, 2011, 2013, people who've been here since 2015. Major respect. But this week was supposed to usher in a period of the next big group of adopters. Why? This week we were supposed to see a lot of regulatory clarity come to light via three major regulations, right? The Genius Act, which we've talked about previously, which is intended to regulate stablecoins. The Clarity Act, which draws clear, defined lines between the SEC and the CFTC in terms of who is responsible for what, so that nobody is crossing over into nobody's land. And then obviously the anti-CBDC bill, which is supposed to, the intention is to block the Fed from launching a digital currency, a CBDC, or to block, I think some of the major proponents of this bill want CBDCs in general, central bank-backed digital currencies in general, to be blocked, not allowed. Right now, the Fed is America's central bank, so it's more targeted to them. But I think some people want it so that even the government is unable to overreach and trap people money. Importantly, where we at right now, I think we at just over $120,000. Man, it's crazy. In 2025, November 2022, FTX happened, Bitcoin crashed like never before. We went all the way down to 16,000. 3 years later, we are almost 10x where we were 3 years ago. Like I said, an emotional roller coaster. So, reality or the hype, right? Everybody thought these regulations will pass. Boom, all the institutions gonna jump in. We're gonna see a surge of money. BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, all the various banks gonna jump into crypto, and we're gonna start pumping right away. You need to pump your brakes, because that is not what is going to happen, right? Nobody said that is what is going to happen. The reality is, the Genius Act, it is intended to regulate stable coins and stablecoin issuers in terms of creating clarity around how they are supposed to set up themselves. Now, we know that people like Circle, people like Paxos have been lining up to take advantage of this. People like USDT, Tether, not so much. So they have some work to do to become compliant. What else? Well, before we got the bills passed, of course, nothing happens in crypto without an opportunity to create bacchanal or to manipulate the market. So before these bills got on their way, of course, there was some infighting in the House. Republicans decided that, you know what, they weren't comfortable, or some Republicans decided they weren't comfortable with the bill. The bill failed. There were some dissenting voices. President Trump reportedly had to step in. He had to have some conversations with some specific dissenters. I think 11 of them. He called into his office, like the principal, and he said, "Hey, I will bust all your tail if all you get on track." And yeah, it went back to the House today, and it actually passed 308 to 122, which means that players like Circle, Paxos, like I said, they are gonna need to show their reserves. USDT, Tether, they are gonna have to do the same. They're gonna have to do audits. They're gonna have to hold one-to-one cash equivalents of their treasury. So is it a good move? I think so. I think it's gonna create some clarity, like we've been calling for. It's going to create some rules. It's going to create a lot more confidence for those people who have been standing on the sidelines, waiting to participate in this crypto space, just like the ETFs did. And I think we're gonna see a little bit more structure. I think we're gonna see a little bit more control as well. But for those of us who don't intend to, hold stables for extended period of time, is a good way to get us to where we want to be in terms of BTC, in terms of ETH, in terms of some of the larger altcoins, right? In terms of the Clarity Act, that one passed 294 to 134, and it basically states that the SEC and the CFTC, like I said, have to stop fighting, like them primary school children and them, right? And handle all this stuff. So SEC basically gonna be in charge of token offerings, while CFTC is gonna be responsible for almost all other things in terms of all other cryptos that are considered commodities. Yes, right? Now, the anti-CBDC bill, that one actually squeezed through with a 219 to 2010 vote. It banned the Federal Reserve from launching any surveillance-heavy CBDCs, but it didn't stop them outright, right? It gave them the opportunity to do so only with congressional approval. So, I mean, if they sway the Congress enough, we might still see a surveillance heavy CBDC in the US. So, this has a lot of people concerned. Of course, we know that a lot of people in Washington don't want nobody really tracking their money, right? Because, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But 2 out of the 3 bills are now headed to the Senate, and it looks like we may get President Trump signing the Genius Act before the end of this week, right? Like I said, Bitcoin briefly went up. We touched 123, I think, which is crazy to think about. And now, finally, we are seeing some movement amongst the altcoins. Ethereum is finally pushing its head back above the surface, right? Let's see where Ethereum is. Ethereum is at $3,469.69. That is US dollars, people. For a minute, Ethereum was looking like a stable coin, flat, dead. In the top 10, we've seen some movements with Solana. XRP is pumping. I know why. BNB is over $700 again. It's kind of crazy. Is that an all-time high for BNB? Let me see what's BNB all-time high. If I could just let me look at. Anyway, I'm going to find it out anyway. But yeah, so does that mean that we are going to see an alt season start kicking off? I think if we get closer to 4,000 Ethereum price, closer to 300 Solana price, we are going to see that alt season that we've been longing for. Yes, we love a BTC, but BTC not going to do them 20x's, them 50x's. Not financial advice, right? Do your own research. But yeah, for us small fries who have a little $10, right? We need an alt season to happen for my $10 to 20x to $200. I need it, right? But what can we expect? Like I said, we're expecting that President Trump is going to sign the Genius Act this week. We expect the Senate to debate some of the bills, especially the CBDC bill. I think that is the one where we're going to see the most contention. I think because of this new regulatory clarity, we're going to see a lot more public interest as banks and other financial institutions start offering crypto more and more to the retail market, we're going to see a bit of a stable coin war take place, where we're going to see those American legit stable coins pumping in North America and other parts of the West. Are we going to see USDT and Tether be relegated to the East, China, Africa, and these kind of places? I think what we're going to see is Circle start, and Coinbase especially, start partnering with people like Shopify, PayPal. We might see some WhatsApp integrations as it relates to stable coins, but I think this is going to open the door in a major way for retail adoption from a utility perspective. So I think interesting times ahead. When I get some time this weekend, I'm going to try to dip into the Clarity Act a little bit more, as well as this Anti-CBDC Act. I'm probably going to do a show on each of them just to bring some clarity to you guys in terms of what is happening there. But all in all, I think crypto week thus far, especially if we see the assent, the signing of the Genius Act by President Trump, I think we could rate crypto week a solid, what do you think, B plus, maybe a A minus. I think it's a good look. What's next? Let's see what happens in Europe with Michael. Let's see what happens in Asia. Let's see what happens in other parts of the world. Let's see what happens right here in the Caribbean in terms of the legitimizing of the crypto space, institution of some more regulatory certainty around dealings with crypto and blockchain. And then maybe finally, maybe we might see this space and the tech entrepreneurs in this space from the Caribbean taking off, doing some big things, able to raise capital and really build some amazing things for the Caribbean. We cannot be left behind, right? Because as I say every single week, adoption is inevitable. Are we going to wait to be last? Let's not do it this time, right? Anyway, that's my time, guys. Thank you for being with me. As always, Illuminati out. Guys, be blessed.